The morning sky was painted in soft gray after a night of heavy rain. The world smelled of wet earth, and puddles still lingered along the quiet street. A black limousine, sleek and polished like a mirror, slowed down as it approached a modest, cozy house at the end of the lane. Inside sat Daniel Sterling, a man whose name echoed in boardrooms, stock markets, and magazine covers around the world. To the world he was a billionaire, to his employees a visionary. But today, he wasn't any of those things. He was just a son and a father, eager to surprise the two people who mattered most. He had left his last meeting early, not telling anyone. He wanted to see the smile on his mother's face, to hear his little girl squeal, "Daddy," and jump into his arms. That thought alone had carried him through the endless business trip. But as the car rolled to a stop, Daniel's hand froze on the door handle. His eyes narrowed. On the front porch of his mother's home stood his fiancée Clarissa, elegant, perfectly dressed, and holding a large bucket. At first, Daniel thought she was cleaning, but the way she gripped the bucket, the cold, twisted smirk on her lips, told another story. He leaned forward, eyes unblinking. His mother, Evelyn, sat on a wooden chair by the porch, her silver hair tied neatly, her frail hands resting gently on the shoulders of Lily, Daniel's 6-year-old daughter. The two were laughing about something, lost in their own little world. They didn't see Clarissa stepping toward them. Then, in a moment Daniel would never forget, Clarissa tilted the bucket forward, spilling a gush of dirty, murky water over them. Evelyn gasped. Lily screamed. The laughter died instantly, replaced by shock, fear, and tears. Daniel's heart stopped. A part of him wanted to believe he was dreaming, but the cries of his daughter tore through him like shards of glass. He had arrived early. Too early for Clarissa to keep her mask on, and now he had seen her true face. Before we continue, if you believe in kindness and truth, please take a second to like this video, subscribe to Kindness Universe, and share your thoughts in the comments. This story is going to open your heart. Chapter 1. The perfect fiancée. To understand Daniel's shock, you need to know how perfectly Clarissa had played her role. They had met at a gala 6 months ago. Daniel, reserved as always, had been standing alone, swirling a glass of wine when she appeared. Her beauty was undeniable, long auburn hair, sparkling emerald eyes, a smile that could light up the room. But what caught him most was her warmth, or at least what seemed like warmth. She laughed at his dry humor. She listened intently when he spoke about his daughter. She even spoke fondly of her own mother, saying, "Family is the greatest treasure. Don't you agree?" From that night on, she wove herself into his life seamlessly. When she met Evelyn, she greeted her with reverence, calling her the strong woman who raised the greatest man. When she met Lily, she bent down, kissed her cheeks, and gave her a doll, whispering, "We're going to be best friends." To Daniel, who had carried grief since losing his wife, Clarissa seemed like hope. A second chance at love, a woman who could be a mother to Lily and a daughter to Evelyn. He proposed within months, believing he had found someone who would cherish his family as her own. But behind closed doors, when Daniel wasn't around, Clarissa's mask slipped. Chapter 2. The hidden cruelty. At first, Evelyn noticed the subtle changes. Clarissa's smile would vanish the moment Daniel left the room. Her voice grew sharp, her patience thin. "Why is this house so small?" Clarissa once muttered when Daniel wasn't home. "A billionaire's mother shouldn't live in such a place. Don't you feel embarrassed?" Evelyn stayed quiet, too wise to argue. She had lived a life where peace mattered more than pride. Then came the remarks to Lily. "You cry too much. You're too clingy. Your father spoils you. If you don't toughen up, no one will love you." Lily, innocent and gentle, would simply lower her eyes, clutch her grandmother's hand, and whisper, "It's okay, Grandma. Daddy loves me." But what neither Evelyn nor Lily knew was that Daniel had already sensed something. Not much, just a flicker of doubt in Clarissa's tone sometimes. But he ignored it, blinded by the dream of having a complete family again. That was why fate intervened. That was why he arrived early that morning. Chapter 3. The betrayal. The sight before him shattered every illusion. Clarissa, with that bucket, pouring filth not just on his mother, but on his daughter, on his world. He pushed open the car door and stepped onto the driveway, his polished shoes crunching against the gravel. Clarissa's back was still to him as Evelyn tried to shield Lily, both of them trembling. "Stop crying," Clarissa snapped, her voice dripping with disdain. "You're both pathetic, sitting out here like beggars. Do you know how embarrassing it is to be tied to you? You'll ruin everything for me." Evelyn's eyes widened in disbelief, tears mixing with the dirty water that stained her clothes. Lily sobbed harder, clinging to her grandmother. That was when Daniel's deep voice cut through the air like thunder. "Enough." Clarissa spun around, her face draining of color when she saw him. The bucket slipped from her trembling hands, clattering on the porch. Daniel," she stuttered, her lips twitching into a nervous smile. You're back early." Daniel's eyes burned with rage, his fists clenched so tightly his knuckles turned white. He glanced at his mother and daughter, soaked and trembling, before returning his gaze to Clarissa. "Don't," he said, his voice low, controlled, terrifying. "Don't you dare speak." The world seemed to stop. Even the birds fell silent.